For Montana East Regional News, this is Emily Boyle. We frequently refer to our area as being oil country, but long before oil was discovered out here, it was ag country. I am with Tim Maddock, who is the general manager for CHS Farmers Elevator. And CHS, Tim, has many locations throughout eastern Montana. So let's start out by telling me where all the locations are.
Well, first off, here in Glendive, grain and agronomy and feed. Baker, Montana is an agronomy location. Miles City's got fuel, feed, agronomy. Sydney, C-Store, and fuel. Ritchie, grain, feed, agronomy, and a service station. Circle's our main office. There's a feed mill there. They also do grain and agronomy out of there. Brockton is another agronomy location. Scobie, grain. Wolf Point, grain and agronomy. Glasgow, grain and agronomy there also.
Out here we have so many people that have come in recently because of the oil boom, and they don't realize that we've had an agriculture focus completely in this region until just recently. And CHS is not just a local company, although you have mostly local workers and you tend to hire local workers. You're also national, is that correct?
That's right. CHS actually has locations overseas in other countries. They're very dominant in North Dakota, Montana. They're in Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Texas, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa. It's country operations is all ag-related things about CHS.
And for people who don't know what agronomy is and those kinds of terms are all about, because they think of eastern Montana as being oil rigs, what exactly is it that you do?
The agronomy side is, all these farmers in this area, eastern Montana and throughout the U.S., they're the ones that raise the food for everybody, overseas and local. Well, they need inputs to raise those crops. So we sell seed, fertilizers to help it grow, chemicals to spray out the weeds, and on the agronomy side, and then it moves into the grain side, which we're still involved in. So when those farmers, harvest time comes along, we have locations that they can deliver their wheat to for us to be able to ship it overseas or local markets, wherever the best price is.
And a lot of these oil rigs that we're seeing are in the middle of wheat fields and other types of crops. So your trucks are right out there along with all of the major oil companies as well.
Yeah, that's right. This whole area has been founded on ag. Oil is something that came later on. So it's an addition to what we've been doing. Agriculture's been here from the beginning, and I know it'll be here long after a lot of these other things. Railroad's also been a good part because that's how we move our product to the coast to be shipped overseas.
Kind of reminds me of that old Girl Scout song, "Make New Friends, but keep the old one is silver and the other's gold."
Yeah.
Golden wheat, so to speak.
Yep.
Just like that, people are so excited because the oil industry is new to the area and they're giving back. But CHS Farmers Elevator has a long history of giving back and taking care of your own communities. And one of the ways that you do that is a project that's been going on all month long. It'll be over in a few days on March 20th, but there is still a few days to get involved, and that is your hunger program. Tell me about your program that you use to help to raise food and awareness for the food banks in the region.
3 years ago, CHS decided in their country operations locations, which is the agronomy and grain side, they wanted to give back somehow, help get their employees to push Harvest for Hunger for the local food banks, to generate cash flow back or canned goods to them. It has been very successful in the last 3 years. We're pushing very hard to raise everything we possibly can. Cash donations actually are a very good way to do it. All of that money gets sent to Missoula, gives them greater buying power for the foods to come back to Dawson County and any other county food bank that there is. So they also do non-perishable items that can be dropped off at the grocery stores here in Glendive, and I'm sure that's the case with any of the other locations in eastern Montana. Montana.
And we're going to be hearing in a little bit after a break from the Dawson County Food Bank. But tell me about some of the other locations that you have, and if somebody is in Circle or Sydney or Miles City or some of your other places, where can they go to drop food off?
Any of those other locations, Farmers Elevator's in the phone book. Any one of those other locations, if you look it up underneath Farmers Elevator, you'll be able to contact them and get something worked out with them. They'll explain the program to you. You can do your cash donations or bring in your canned goods or whatever and drop it off any one of the locations in eastern Montana.
Very good. And we'll hear more about this program when we come back. Montana East Regional News with Emily Boyles is produced by Marks Group Broadcasting. You can listen weekdays in Glendive, Forsyth, Miles City, and Sydney, Williston, and Dickinson, North Dakota. Find Montana East Regional News on television on KXGN CBS and KXGN NBC. You can also keep up with breaking news and great regional events. Find Emily Boyles on Twitter and Facebook. We are talking about some of the needs in the food banks in the area, and I am with Pastor Brad Kelly, who is the head of the Dawson County Food Bank, now called Compassionate Ministries. And Pastor Kelly, CHS, is participating in Harvest for Hunger this year. Tell me about what role that plays for the food bank.
Well, this plays a major role for our food bank because one of the main staples of the food bank is cereal. We are always in need of cereal, and it's one of those things where even when we seem to get it in, it goes out the door just as fast. And we try our best that everybody gets at least a box of cereal. If it's a larger family, we may throw 2 or 3 in there. But cereal is such a main staple, and that is a huge need of the food bank here.
Well, what an awesome thing, too, because cereal is something that's made out of wheat. We grow wheat in Montana. Some of them use sugar. We have sugar beets in eastern Montana. So it's certainly a way for CHS's products to get value added, goes to the producers, goes out to the factories, comes back to eastern Montana, and then folks are able to generously donate that back to the food bank as well.
Yeah, these are two, of course, major staples when it comes to cereal, both the sugar and the wheat. And homegrown product right here in our own backyard. And though it has to be processed, it does come back. And it's just a great opportunity to, of course, for CHS grain elevators in our area to promote them. But also, as I mentioned, it is such a need and a main staple for our Compassionate Ministries, the Dawson County Food Bank.
And what they can go, there's 2 locations that Farmers Elevator has on the Sydney Highway.
That's correct.
And then also you have established some cans, and a number of the stores and a lot of the local merchants have partnered into this process to help out Harvest for Hunger and the CHS Farmers Elevator project. What are some of those merchants that are helping out with the CHS project?
Well, Reynolds Store is on board with us along with Albertsons, and then we have F&G Drugstore, and also of course the 2 main elevators on the Sydney Highway. And also Action for Eastern Montana has a can.
Raising my own family is that I was always pretty conscientious about having the best kinds of foods on our table, making sure that there were grains, that there was meat, that there were vegetables. So can you tell me about, in addition to cereal, some of the things that are particularly helpful for you to be able to put into a food box for a family that's trying to move forward in their lives?
Yes. We try our best when we fill a food bag to do a balanced meal, so you're not just having cereal for 5 or 6 days out of the week. But we do tuna fish, raviolis, soup, vegetables, fruit. Try to throw a hamburger helper or 2 in there, noodles, spaghetti sauce, chilies, just various other things that we may have at the time at the food bank. That can change from month to month, but we really try our best to do a balanced meals so that they're getting their protein and the necessary vitamins and minerals.
Some of those better foods to make sure that those kids grow up good and strong and healthy in a healthy community. community.
Yes, absolutely. And we really do try to think of our kids oftentimes when we do fill these bags, because it is so important as they are growing that they get a healthy breakfast before they start their morning on their way to school, so they can think and operate a healthy lunch and of course, a wholesome dinner.
And on the other end of the spectrum, you also have senior citizens on fixed incomes as well that you serve. Is that correct?
We do deliver to shut-ins and elderly that are not able to get out, and we will go and deliver food bags to their houses if they call the Compassionate Ministries number, and that is 941-0202.
And so another way of thinking about that too is, would I want my child or my grandma to eat this? And of course the things that come out of CHS and go on from Montana are always good, healthy Montana wheat and Montana harvest. And that's part of this whole harvest program that they're doing. So if there's any other questions or people that would like to continue giving after March 20th, can you give us that number one more time?
Yes. Again, it's Compassionate Ministries, and the number is 941-0202.
And thanks again to CHS Farmers Elevator for their Harvest for Hunger program. If you have a hot news story or a news tip you'd like to share with us, you can email us at newsdesk@kxgn.com. For Montana East Regional News, this is Emily Boyle.